Let me show you how I made this teeny tiny flashlight. It has a rechargeable battery, a USB port, and 2 brightness levels for the 5 LEDs. It uses a custom circuit board, a 3D printed enclosure, and I've made the project files free to download. All the links are in the description. It all started when I came across this video for the world's smallest rechargeable flashlight. I cannot confirm if it is indeed the smallest, but it looked so cool that it inspired me to make my own version, with a few changes. On the one hand, whoever made this clearly put effort into it. The end result looks impressively small. They don't give us the exact dimensions, but judging by the size of the battery and the USB port, I believe it is 25mm long, 10mm wide, and 10mm tall. Here is a 3D printed mockup which I will later compare to my design. But on the other hand, gluing and soldering components directly onto the battery as they show in the video can be dangerous. These batteries do not like heat, and a soldering iron can easily reach 300 degrees. Encasing a LiPo battery in epoxy resin is also a bad idea. The material traps heat and prevents the battery from expanding as it ages. On top of that, they use a touch sensor in the video based on one of these TTP223 integrated circuits. Looks fancy, but I suspect it can be triggered by accident just by having the flashlight in your pocket. So, all that said, here's what I'm copying and what I'm changing. I want to make a tiny but practical flashlight. I'm aiming for decent brightness and sufficient runtime. But instead of using epoxy resin, I'll make a 3D printed enclosure. The power button will be a physical one, and the whole project will be designed with safety in mind, because LiPo batteries are no joke. Now, some of you may be thinking, it's just a flashlight. Where is the challenge in that? And I agree, making just a flashlight is pretty easy. But when you try to make it as small as possible, then you start running into problems. For example, a small size means a small battery, but it can't be too small because then the light would only last a few minutes. And if you want it to be bright, you have to use more LEDs, which now means your battery has to be even bigger. And then you have to make space for a power switch, a USB port, and all the electronics to charge the battery. So the actual challenge is to find the balance between all the variables, to pick a battery, LEDs, and electronics that work well together. They have to be efficient and practical without taking up too much space. First, I ordered several different batteries from AliExpress. The smallest was 50 mAh and the largest 600. For comparison, the original video used a 60 mAh battery, which got them about half an hour of light. I was surprised that the cells I got were not packaged any better, they just put them in a bubble bag like this. But they arrived in one piece and seemed to work fine. Anyway, the smallest batteries were indeed tiny, perhaps too tiny. These 50 mAh cells are used in wireless earphones. However, I chose not to use them for several reasons. Firstly, they did not come with any protection, even though it was mentioned in the description. Also, I wasn't sure if they would be able to provide anything beyond 20 or 30 milliamps. Usually, the smaller the battery, the lower its current rating, and I could not trust the sketchy specs they had listed online. At the same time, the 600 mAh cells were too big for what I had in mind. I'm confident runtime with these would be great, but the size was a higher priority. So in the end, I chose to use one of these 100 mAh LiPo cells. It was small enough, it had built-in protection, and I should be able to pull 100 milliamps from it, enough to power 5 basic LEDs. Speaking of which, selecting the LEDs was a bit more challenging. I really wanted to use high-quality, high-brightness LEDs like the ones I've used in some of my previous projects. The issue is that the best ones are only available as surface mount components. I did find a few models designed to produce light at a 90-degree angle relative to the circuit board. I assume these are used as display backlights. But I looked at the specs and they were not bright enough. So in the end, I decided to stick with standard 3mm LEDs. They were easier to use, and the plastic housing already acts as a lens. These particular LEDs have a beam angle of just 30 degrees, which is a lot better. And now it is time for the really tricky part, the electronics. The good news is that the battery already has a built-in protection module. It protects against short circuit, overcharge, and over-discharge. But I still need a battery charging circuit, as well as something to manage the LEDs. My solution? a custom circuit board. It has a tiny battery charger, an LED driver made for flashlights, and a button to turn them on and off. I'll explain in detail how it works, but first let me tell you more about my sponsor, JLCPCB. Whenever I need a circuit board for a project, I get it from JLCPCB. They offer all the services I need, which is why I've been using them for years. For this design, they took care of everything: PCB fabrication, quality testing, component sourcing, stencil and surface mount assembly, so there was no need to switch vendors or solder anything by hand. Even 1 to 4 layer PCB designs like this one benefit from A-grade materials, advanced equipment, and quality checks along the process. You just upload your project files, get a quote instantly, place your order, and stay up to date on the process as your design comes to life. Prices start at just $2 for 5 PCBs with 1 to 4 layers, with a 2 PCB minimum if you require PCB assembly. And if that is not affordable enough, new users receive $123 in coupons for JLCPCB services, with new coupons added every month. Get them with my links below and take your projects to the next level with JLCPCB. Now let me show you how the electronics work. Here we see the USB-C port and the spots for the 5 LEDs. This chip takes care of charging the battery. This is the LED driver, and the power button is exactly in the middle. As a reminder, all the project files are available at the link below, so go check them out if you're curious. As for the circuit board itself, it is special. It is only 1 mm thick. I'm not using the usual 1.6 mm boards like in previous videos. It is not a big difference, but since I am aiming to make the tiniest flashlight, I figured a thinner board should help. Also, I'm using a 4-layer circuit board. On a more basic PCB you would have just 2 layers, with tracks and planes only on the top and bottom surfaces. But here I have 2 extra layers in the middle. One is a ground plane and the other is dedicated to the positive voltage from the battery. Whenever I need to connect any component to power or ground, I can just place a via instead of routing any long tracks, which further helps with keeping the PCB small. The USB-C port is pretty basic. As usual, I'm using a couple of 5.1K resistors to pull the CC pins to ground, which allows the module to work with smart power adapters. Power then goes to the charging chip. I'm using the BQ21040 by Texas Instruments. If you are wondering why I did not pick the cheaper and popular TP4056, which the inspiration video uses, it's because the TI chip is much smaller, it takes less board space. Here we have the two compared side by side. Just like the 4056, the TI chip requires very few external components to work: a couple of capacitors for stability, resistors for configuration, a status LED, and that's it. Besides, TI chips have been very reliable in previous projects where I've used them. Another thing I have to point out, with battery charging chips you would usually be more interested in the maximum charging current, but here it's the other way around. Small batteries charge at small currents. So even though the chip can do up to 800 mA, in this case it is configured for 60 mA. I had to confirm that the chip would be stable even at such a low setting. Power from the battery goes to the LED driver. It is the CN5730, which you might remember from my video explaining and comparing LED driver types. Since it is a linear driver, it is not the most efficient. I was considering a switching driver, which would have probably given me longer runtime. However, the 5730 has a feature that is essential for my project. It can be turned on and off with a simple button. At first, I was thinking of using one of these toggle switches with a resistor for each LED. It would have been the simplest solution. However, even the smallest toggle switches were too big for the project, which is no surprise since they need space for the mechanical bits that make them work. But this LED driver works with a basic push button, which is much smaller. It triggers an internal circuit that turns the output current on and off. In fact, it supports 2 brightness levels. Here I have connected a powerful LED to demonstrate. A single push turns it on, a second push switches to low brightness mode, and the third push turns the light off. Now I have to clarify that this LED driver is intended for high brightness LEDs, but I have it configured for a relatively modest current output of 90 mA, which would be distributed among the 5 LEDs in parallel. As a reminder, connecting LEDs in parallel can be tricky since the current may not be distributed evenly. I have an LED tutorial video that explains this in more detail. That is why I have put a small resistor in series with each LED. It will help balance the current evenly and prevent any of the LEDs from being overloaded. By the way, placing the LEDs along the longer side was a deliberate choice. Since they are through-hole components, the legs stick out a bit from the bottom after they're soldered, just enough to damage the battery if it is pressed against them. That is why the battery goes here, where there is nothing sticking out through the PCB. And now here I have the 5 LEDs bent and soldered in place. When I connect the battery and press the button, they all light up, as expected. A second press switches to low brightness mode, and the third press turns the light off. At full brightness, the module is pulling around 90 mA, and at low brightness about 1/3 of that. The downside of my circuit is that the LED driver pulls current even in standby. It is pulling around 30 microamps, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it is enough to drain the battery in about 4 months. Now that we know that the circuit works, it is time to permanently connect the battery. This cutout is so that the battery wires can go through, and they connect to the board via these 2 pads on the PCB over here. Looking at it now, I should have given myself more space between the pads to avoid short circuits. Fortunately, the module works fine, so all that is left now is to design the enclosure. I opened Fusion and came up with this. It is a 2-part design. The bottom has a compartment where the battery fits in perfectly, and the top piece has a cutout that flexes to push the button. Here are the openings for the LEDs and the USB port, and this ridge down here couples with a slit in the top piece, which holds the 2 pieces together. The holes in the corner are for a screw and a nut. I went through several iterations where I adjusted the size and dimensions until I finally got the best fit. Here's what the final result looks like. It is simple, functional, and since I'm using translucent plastic, I can see when the battery is charging. Let me now show you how bright the flashlight is. At high brightness, I would say it is comparable to the light from my phone at a medium setting. It is not blindingly bright, but it is good enough to check on your 3D printer at night. I measured the battery life at full brightness and I got 54 minutes, pretty close to the target of 1 hour I was aiming for. And at low brightness it lasted about 2 hours and 30 minutes, which is very good for something this tiny. Unfortunately, in terms of size, I wasn't able to get even close to the flashlight from the video. My design ended up being about 3 times larger. I can probably make it smaller by optimizing the electronics further and replacing the 5 LEDs with a single unit, but that could be a challenge for another video. Again, links to the project files and tools are in the video description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.